Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. I am happy to join with you today.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this month's Our Values in Action webinar. January 20th is MLK Day, and this month we're honoring Dr. King's legacy through conversation with Emmy Award-winning storyteller Sharon Nyree Williams. To learn more about the ways you can participate in today's event, go to the Messages panel in the bottom left corner of your screen. We'll be answering questions there live and putting up important links as the webinar progresses. If you have any technical difficulties, please refresh your browser or send us a message. We're here, happy to help. Before we get started, a short video to introduce our guest speaker for today.
Let your eardrums be blessed by the poetic storytellings from the Emmy Award-winning artist, producer, professor, advocate, presenter, storyteller, and more, Sharon Nyree Williams.
Hello, and thank you for joining us today for January's installment of Event Builder's Community Webinar Series. This month's topic is Martin Luther King Jr., as the holiday in his name is coming up this Monday. We're joined today by the amazing Emmy Award-winning storyteller, artist, advocate, and so much more, Sharon Nyree Williams. Welcome, Sharon.
Hey, thanks for having me. How you doing, Kendall?
Pretty good, pretty good. I'm very excited that you agreed to do this. Let's go ahead and jump right in.
Let's do it.
So Martin Luther King Jr. was an American Baptist minister, activist, and political philosopher in the civil rights movement from 1955 until his assassination in 1968. His name and words are often invoked in the fight, not just for the rights and civil liberties of Black Americans, but in the fight for equal rights among many marginalized communities in the United States. I wanted to kind of explore his history and a little more with you. And my first question was there an event from King's childhood that influenced his adult work, do you think?
Yes. He often talked about a time when he was around 6 years old, and he had this white friend that he would play with all the time. But when they got up into, like, I think high school years as teenagers, his friend's father said that they couldn't play with each other anymore because his friend was white. And that had a major impact on him, his mental, and as he moved as in being basically told there's a difference between y'all and y'all can't be together. And so that's what started the churning in his heart around the differences and how people were treated in America at the time.
Wow. That's crazy. And makes so much sense. How do you think religion shaped his life?
I mean, it was the backbone for everything that he did. I mean, he was surrounded by religion since he came into the planet, right? His father was a pastor, his great-grandfather was a pastor, his grandfather was a pastor, his brother was a pastor, he was a pastor. It was embedded into his soul, and he always led with the Bible of love and forgiveness. And so I think that is what made him who he was and the values that he stood on as he moved forward.
Yeah, how do you think that how do you think that led him to be a leader and an activist?
Well, he had a church. He was a pastor of a church at the time, and the situation with Rosa Parks on the bus and her being told to go to the back of the bus when she was exhausted and tired, which led to the Montgomery Boys boycott. And as they were organizing to have meetings around this issue to see what community would do, he invited them to use the basement of his church as the meeting place. And simply by being there and being a part of the conversation, it led him to lead that boycott, and then moved on to other leadership, being the leader of the civil rights movement.
Wow. Yeah, that's awesome. Um, how was he similar to and different from other leaders in the civil rights movement?
Well, first you have to think about like what his, religion was part of his background, but also he had a great love and appreciation for Gandhi
Mm,
and his nonviolence way of doing things. And so that really led him to being different from other civil rights activists who was like retaliate. If somebody hit you, you hit them back, right?
right,
But for Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., it was more or less nonviolence. It's that thing of no matter what they do to you, whether they spit at you, call you out your name, hit you, pour stuff on you, just be still and allow them to do that and don't retaliate. And that's what he shared throughout his reign as civil rights activist.
wow, there's a lot we could learn from that today.
Woo, man, with
Yeah,
power.
yeah.
With the power.
Um,
I'm working
s-
on it.
right, yeah. So I was reading that he was arrested something like over 30 times. How do you think that these experiences shaped his work within the movement?
Man, it was strategic. It might have started as, they're just going to arrest us. But then when you see the attention that came from that, of keeping every arrest in the news and his picture on the
Right,
paper and things of that nature, to let the world know what was happening to him and people that looked like him. And so I think it was one aspect of helping the civil rights movement stay fresh in the minds of people and move people along. And he said it. An injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. And so we got writings like the letters from Birmingham,
right,
and things of that nature, where he had time to process and share his thoughts. And so I think it aided, it gave him space, but it was also a sacrifice.
yeah,
He couldn't be with his family. He didn't know what they was going to do to him when he got in jail, things of that nature. So, but I
right.
think it was a pivotal part of the civil rights movement.
Sure, sure. He was assassinated in 1968, but I was reading this was not the first assassination attempt on his life, was it?
Not at all. I mean, this man was stabbed, and his house was bombed with his wife and newborn baby in the house,
What?
his baby girl. Um, and then on top of all of that, the constant letters of threats and bombs and things of that nature. I mean, he couldn't move without people trying to protect him, and as well as, keep an eye out of everything that was happening. And so it wasn't by any means a popular position to be in when your life is threatened just about every day.
Right, right. Um, when he was assassinated, he was in Memphis. And can you explain to our audience what he was doing in Memphis at the time?
Yeah, he was there to support a movement around sanitation workers, because what had happened in Memphis was there was these two sanitation workers, and it was a really bad rainstorm, and they had nowhere to go for refuge from the rain. And so they got in the back of the garbage truck, and the rain triggered the truck to malfunction, so they say, and close in on them and killing them. So that sparked a protest and for all the rights of sanitation workers, and it brought attention to how they were treated on the job. And so he was there to support what people call a union, you know?
Yeah. Crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you feel was his greatest achievement?
It's hard because it's so many things, but
Yeah.
I would say to to bring it all together, the fact that he was a catalyst for change,
Yeah.
right? Like his legacy was a catalyst for change. And then that wasn't just how you were treated by your everyday person that you run across at a restaurant or at a water fountain or at work. It was also, he also was a catalyst for change in legislation and getting things changed, voting rights and civil rights act and things of that nature. So it's
Right.
so many ways that he was able to bring community together, and I think that's his biggest contributions.
Yeah, I would agree with that actually. Yeah. Um, what do you think he would be most proud of or disappointed to see if he was alive today?
This is a hard question.
Not to
you
hit you
got
with a tricky one, but
you got me on this one. Oh, this is hard because my head is like
yeah,
so many things, but I'm gonna go with us being in this moment in time right now, right? And just coming out of an election. I would say that he would be so proud of Vice President Kamala Harris
yes,
and how she just stepped up, and was ready and willing to be the next leader of the United States. And just the way that she moved in space, the way that she presented herself, um, was everything. And so I would
yeah,
say that he would be most proud of that, in addition to all of the other Black leaders that we see in community, not just Black, brown, just the leaders that are doing right, that are uplifting forgiveness and love. And and I think that he would be most proud of that, of no matter if you're in corporate, no matter if you're in schools, no matter where you are in your life, that he would just be proud to see leadership around making sure that people are treated fairly. Um, and disappointed, I would say the divide.
yeah,
America, and the fact that we can't seem to get on the same page. We
yeah,
can't seem to say that this is right or this is wrong. I see it this way, you see it that way. Um, with You have the haves and the haves nots at an even bigger level at this moment in time, and we're just not treating each other like humans in this day and age. And I think that would really, really weigh on him around how do we come together, how do we be strong as one versus continuously to separate ourselves around important issues as education and healthcare and things of that nature. So I think that would be his biggest disappointment for the world as a whole.
yeah, yeah. So kind of pivoting into the upcoming, Martin Luther King Jr. Day, which is a day known as a day of service. How did Martin Luther King Jr. Day become a national day of service? Like, as I understand it, in like 1983, uh, Reagan signed a bill making the third Monday in January a federal holiday, but there were many years um, before it actually was truly observed.
Yeah, you have to, this behind every strong man, there's an even stronger Black woman. And um, and so you mean you have to give credit to Representative John Conyers, Democrat from Michigan, for as soon as Dr. King was assassinated, started putting this work into place around this legislation. And then you have to give Coretta Scott King, his wife, all
Yeah,
the credit in the world for just wanting her husband's legacy to be seen, recognized, his commitment, his thing. And they did everything for over 15 years, right? From 1968 to Ronald Reagan signed it in 83, and then getting people to actually observe it. And then even in 1994, like Bill Clinton had to sign in, King Holiday and Service Act was signed, right? So it's just continuous movement. And through all of that, I think when it finally was able to pass, it was Coretta Scott King. Stevie Wonder had written in 1980, the King birthday song that we sing at parties. Happy birthday.
Yes.
Yeah. He toured that, and he kept the message out there. And then they had over 6 million people sign. It wasn't the first petition, but the last petition was 6 million, and then it was passed. It was a
Wow.
lot of work, and just so it tells us as community members, things don't happen overnight, but if you stay consistent and persistent, things will eventually go the way that they should.
That's amazing. Unfortunate that it took that long, but
Exactly.
amazing the work that was done there. Um, do you feel that we as Americans do justice to his legacy in the way that we collectively celebrate or participate in this federal holiday in his name?
I think sometimes we lose sight of some things, and I think I'm not here to judge anyone. You do what you do, but I would say that I feel as though we all can do better. That's including myself. And I think we see things as it comes, as just do it for that day. But how about do it that day and the next day and the next day, and whatever that looks like for you. But I do think, like, sometimes, it may be the only day you can rest. But sometimes it's a day to say, okay, now let's reflect and see what I can do. And I know that you've done that with you and your family, right, Kendall?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, me and my wife have you know made I mean, aside from making mindful donations and volunteering our time, we've definitely taken our son to a movie that was representative, like Hidden Figures, that was representative of the history of Black people in our world, that uh frankly, I mean, even through this conversation, I can say I've learned things. We learn such a um truncated, is that the right word? Such a small sliver of all of this history when we're in school, which is unfortunate. And there's so much more to it, and so yes, I definitely have done my best to have an impact on the younger generation of people that I have influence over, um, by finding ways to celebrate that is educational, particularly to my family, which is obviously white. And so I think they need the education to understand, especially the younger folks coming up, the further away we get from that history, right? Um, so my question to you uh, is, what can people do, big and small, to honor Martin Luther King Jr. and contribute on this day of service? Um, don't what would your suggestions be? Donating online. I mentioned that we do that, but also um in both, I guess I'm asking for both in person and for people with accessibility issues.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. I mean, in person, show up. Um, there's a ton of Martin Luther King Jr. Day programs that you can attend. That's easy. All you have to do, show up, be there, ask questions. If you like the organization that's putting it on, go have a conversation with them. Ask them how you can be of service. If there are other ways that you can help, that's the easiest way in person. If there's organizations that you know of, or Google organizations that what are Black organizations, nonprofits that you can help out or assist? What are Black businesses that you can help out and assist? Just do your part, help spread the word. Go to a Black restaurant. Those are easy things that you can do right off top, right? Donate. Accessibility. Donation is good, but also there's virtual programming as well. I love what you said, Kendall, around educating yourself. Um, there's audio books, there's movies that you can watch. I love the Dr. Martin Luther King movie. That I mean, they used to play it, I think, on Christmas every year. And so I think there's movies, there's documentaries that you can watch. Check out PBS. Your local library has some resources as well. But with banning of books and things of that nature, and people trying not to hear the story of Black Americans, Indigenous, and everyone, this is the time to dig in. Go buy that banned book, read it, share it with somebody else when you're finished with it. Have the conversations at your dinner table. Um, Bring your network together. You don't have to try to change the entire world, but try to have an influence on your community, your network, and see what that looks like for you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. You know, when I was younger and less aware, I would take the day off work and thought, it's very cool. And I did it with reverence, and respect. I wasn't trying to be disrespectful, but as I got older, I
Mm-hmm.
became more thoughtful about doing something of service. And that is when I, as a parent, and my wife would make sure to take our son, as I mentioned before, to a movie about, or a museum exhibit. So, telling the story of the civil rights movement or achievements of Black Americans. And, because he definitely wasn't getting that in school. And, nowadays we volunteer in support of various groups. We partner, my wife and I, our son is an adult and on his own now, but we definitely like partner with different DEI groups from the organization or from the businesses and organizations that we work with, and go do things like, at the food bank or neighborhood cleanups, or you know donating to historically Black organizations like, the NAACP, or even supporting local smaller Black organizations like No More Under, which I'm
Mm-hmm.
not sure if you're familiar with No More Under, but basically it's an organization that was started to raise awareness about drowning in
Yeah.
the
Mhm.
Black community, and to teach people to swim because of the obstacles that historically for Black people around water. Um, and I'll give a shout out to Resol 206
Yeah.
for donation
Yeah.
too, for a small Black owned business. Um, because I know they're still trying to make money back from what happened, the break-in that happened at their store last year.
Yeah, and
Um,
same for Noir Lux Candles. They had a break-in right before the holiday, right before Thanksgiving.
oh,
Um, Help them out. Art Noir, you have arts organizations like Wanawari who does have a whole project around Black people telling their stories. You have Spectrum Dance Theater led by Donald Byrd. Organization I used to run, Central District Forum for Arts and Ideas, now ran by Randy Ford. Langston, Langston the building, Langston the organization,
yes,
uh, Northwest Tap. There's so Urban League Metropolitan Seattle. There is Rainier Beach Coalition. There's so many groups out there that need your support. All you have to do is find something that's near and dear to your heart or not near dear in your heart. Like, how many times have you, I just recently, yeah, how many times have you been in a coffee line and somebody made you pay for your coffee? Right? This is what we're talking
right.
about. We're talking about doing something simple that's true to your heart and helping community out. And then also if you're at work or at school, if you're don't feel like the Black person or the brown person has to bring up forgiveness and love and to do the right thing, how about bringing it up for them so they don't just have to stand out every time an issue with their culture comes up? Like,
Yes.
ask the question, be that what they call ally. Remember that we're in community, and how do we make community better together?
Yeah, absolutely. Ally is taking action. People
Yeah.
often don't realize that ally isn't just sitting in your house with good thoughts, which is nice, but to be an ally, you do have to take some action. So that was a really good point there, Sharon. Well, I just, do you have anything else that you want to say before we close out today?
I think, I have a piece that's inspired by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., The Fierce Urgency of Now quote. If I can find it, and I do it from time to time for this time of year for organizations, um, because of what it does, and I can't find the write up of it at this point. Um, Dare to Claim the Sky. Here we go. I know it's at the end of this piece. And so, if you don't mind, I'd just like to share some of the
Uh,
fierce urgency of now.
we would be honored.
That's what's up. Uh,
Yeah.
um, it is Kings and Queens. First, we must pay homage to the change agents of America. Ancestors rise, ancestors rise, ancestors rise. As the waves of the river tide brought us here, the shackles of the past must be broken. Learn from the fight and thy will be done. It is no longer them beating us, but us beating them. No straps needed, no shackles can hold us. The breaking of the backs for them is done as we break our backs for the truth to not be undone. We can no longer allow them to nail us to the cross, but for us to make our own crosses to bear. Bear the cross of our brothers and sisters who stand for the fight for justice. Bear the cross of our children who deserve to thrive. Bear the cross for the crossless whose voices have been silenced or the whispers of those who they refuse to hear. We shall no longer sit and wait. We will no longer travel through the Underground Railroad. We will no longer be ashamed to speak the truth. We will no longer quote the past without steadfast action. Jesse Jackson said, keep hope alive. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said, I have a dream. Dr. Maya Angelou said, courage is the most of all virtues. Bob Marley says, emancipate yourselves from mental slavery. James Baldwin said, not everything that is faced can be changed, but nothing can be changed until it is faced. Where there is no struggle, there is no strength, Oprah Winfrey said. Alice Walker said, healing begins here, where the wound has been made. Barack Obama said, change will not come if we wait for some other person or other time. We are the ones we've been waiting for. And my grandmother, who turns 99 on this day, says, if you've never been down, then you will never know how to get up. You see, the pulse of America, the climate may be one of hatefulness and vengeance, but like the good book says, vengeance is mine. No weapon formed against me shall prosper. You may kill my brothers, but you will not kill my soul. You may try to limit my capacity, but my capacity is limitless. You may thrive on my pain, but my pain is no more. We are no longer crying to be heard. We are fierce in fighting for justice. We are fierce in fighting for education. We are fierce in fighting for gender equality. We are fierce in fighting for health care. We are fierce in fighting for the rights of immigrants. We are fierce in fighting racism. We are fierce in fighting for love and forgiveness. We are fierce in shaping an America that we can be proud of. We are fierce.
Wow, Sharon, that was extremely powerful. I'm honored that you shared that with us here on this webinar for this day. I think you're one of the most talented storytellers, on top of being an incredible human being. I want to, yeah, back at you, girl. I want to thank you so much for joining us today and to give our community this incredibly important point of view, and to have this incredibly important conversation. Um, it was an absolute pleasure to have you. I would love to direct our viewers to more of your Emmy Award-winning storytelling at your website, www.SharonNWilliams.com, which we will post to the page as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks again, Sharon. And I hope that you are celebrated as well on MLK Day, because you are definitely an amazing Black leader in our community.
Thank you so much, Kendall. Thank you for all you do, and thank you for just being you. I really do appreciate everything that you do. No
Thank
doubt.
you so much.
Thank you for joining Event Builder's Our Values in Action webinar featuring the incredibly talented Sharon Nyree Williams. On this MLK Day, we reflect on Dr. King's enduring vision of justice, equity, and compassion. Whether through learning, reflecting, or committing to action, we honor his legacy and continue striving together to make his dream a reality.